What's up, guys? I'm Dr. Donald, and this is
Dr. Ben.
And today is going to be the first of many weekly series where we find a topic and we kind of just open table, discuss it, and hopefully give you guys some nice little gems to walk away with. Today we wanted to talk to you guys about why it's important to figure out what's causing your pain in terms of a movement, right? So for example, we're going to use low back pain today and talk a lot about low back pain. So an example would be picking up something off the ground or bending forward to do your dishes, something like that. I'm gonna let you kind of tee it off and
Yeah, so I think one thing to clarify too is what we try to figure out here is a couple different things. There's gonna be full, you always want to do a diagnostic analysis on somebody, but if you're just feeling discomfort in your body and you're doing certain things, it's not like the exact space we're looking for. What's more important is what specific motions or movements do you feel the discomfort in? And then that could help what? Narrow down ideas of
yeah,
what
for
they
sure.
can be.
I mean, then you start seeing overlap, stuff like that.
Right, and then also too, that kind of gets down to the other thing is people will always come and see us and they want to know exactly what to do, right? And
sure.
Like, is there the motion, like that magic motion that's going to make everything better? And it's awesome when it is, right? Like when you find that, like, boom, you do this and they're like, everything feels great.
Yeah, I'm healed.
Yeah, that's cool when that happens. Usually it's a process. So understanding what is continually, hurting your body or aggravating something is super important, because a lot of times it's more important about understanding what that is, not doing it if possible, than trying to put an intervention in. So we're hitting the source of a particular problem.
Yeah, I think it comes down to addition by subtraction, right? And that subtraction could look like a number of different ways. I know you can attest to this. We see a lot of people that are active and in classes and really want to stay fit, and if we tell them not to do something, if we were to look at them straight in the face and just say, well, just stop doing all that, and never give them something to do instead, oh my gosh, it'd be a nightmare, right? So sometimes it does look like taking something away, and sometimes it looks like modifying it, right? So technically you are subtracting stuff. So it is addition by subtraction. It can look like so many different things. I guess do you have anything else to add to that? Because I want to ask you a question I think you'd be really good at answering.
Yeah. Also, we have Perrier. These would be way better if they were White Claws.
Yes, they would. They would. There would be a lot better, more provocative questions asked. But I do want to ask you a question. What would be a good example of, like, not even using the scenario that I gave you, but like addition by subtraction? Like, what would be some good examples, like to prove our point, but solidify some things?
So if you're a person, so we're going to talk about a specific sector. So this may or may not like completely apply to everybody, but it can in certain ways if you take it and apply it towards like what you might be overdoing. So like in my youth, I started off by bodybuilding, right? Like the era I grew up in, it was like everybody was a fake bodybuilder at some point. And you get very routine oriented, right? So you're doing a lot of these volumes, split routines. I mean, there's days where it's like a bicep day, so you do body parts. And what happens with these routines, I remember getting like nagging injuries, right? Like shoulder or bicep tendon pain or something through here. And my routines were always planned out, like you do these set things for this length of time. Looking back in hindsight, I could have saved myself a lot of agony. There's probably 2 or 3 motions that I would have been able to identify, pull them out completely, not have held on to them, been able to train everything else, and just the way the body works, hit every hypertrophy goal I was going for.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect segue, because that was what I was gonna hit, right? Because my next question was like, would you still be able to hit all your goals, right? That's always the main thing, right? People get super like concerned.
Yeah.
Like, I have my identity on this. I don't think I can look the way I want to look. I don't think I can move the way I want to move without these specific things that I have a habit of doing over and over.
Right. So that's where it's like your habit can almost become a little bit destructive, right?
Sure.
Like you have that mentality, and if you've reached certain goals, or you've done certain things, or you're at a certain level of what you expect to be able to do, and you start tampering with the recipe that got you there, you're super worried that the cake's not going to come out tasting the same. So the body's pretty resilient, you know. For what I was doing, there's so much volume going on that less volume probably would have been even better overall for some of my results. And two, like, do I really need to do 12 sets of bicep curls? Is that going to yield better results than doing 5 sets of bicep curls?
Right.
Or like playing with the load, or
Right.
playing with other things,
Mm-hmm.
or not doing them, like
Sure.
what would happen, and then bringing it back in, depending on like what the condition was, or splitting the routines up differently.
Mm-hmm.
Just hypertrophy is going to happen by hitting big motions. You're going to get better
Absolutely.
results with being strong on those than you would be in smaller motions. Man, we've digressed.
Totally. I was
Defining
gonna. Don't worry. I was gonna reel back in. To go back to low back pain. I think a great example is hinging at the hip. For a lot of people, can be like troublesome. Meaning like if they do it over and over and over again, and they're kind of hinging at like that lumbar section instead of like the hip section, right? That's when you start to get overuse, kind of similar to what you were talking about, like with some tendon issues when bodybuilding. And oftentimes what we have success doing is showing them how to do and still train the lower body, but taking out what hurts, right? Going back to finding out what hurts, and if you don't address or find those things that are giving you issues in the first place, you're never going to find that overlap and understand where to go and how to navigate those roads. So really just the simplest thing is finding what hurts, because it gives you the lay of the land, really. Like it's a big part of when you see a doc, that's how you get diagnosed.
So then I'd like to dive kind of back into a little more in depth about what you're talking about with this. So when you say a hip hinge pattern, we're talking about, so the term biomechanics gets thrown around, like biomechanics is, bio just means like a body, like biology, like a being. And mechanics is mechanics, right? So biomechanics and mechanics is the same thing. You're just talking about the way angles are in the body and the way things are moved.
Absolutely.
And when we talk about finding out what hurts and then replacing it with something different that shouldn't hurt, and we're talking about using the hip hinge, what we're really trying to get it as, imagine your back is a bunch of little tiny vertebrae, or these bones all stacked up on top of each other, right? And they're very, very small. And when you're bending forward without a hip hinge, it would look like this. So what we're trying to say is, rather than completely remove bending forward from your life, you're going to bend forward with your hips.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's going to increase the
That's
range
a
of-
subtraction.
Right, that's a subtraction. And that would be the addition. And a lot of times something like that, the change is also the rehab.
Absolutely.
Right? Like if you just do that over and over.
And it's something we say all the time, right? Like rehab is really just changing a habit. That's
sure.
all it is changing a habit. And changing that habit for the time being allows things to heal, and you don't have to move like that every time you bend from now on the rest of your life. However, changing that habit to allow some things to heal and subtract some things.
Yeah. So you're decreasing.
Is huge.
So from the mechanical standpoint, we're just moving stress to a different area of the body. And you know what? There's also a time and the place where you may need to add more flexion depending on your individual case. And that's very rare, but it does happen where that motion needs to be adjusted. So finding out so think of this, if you've been in chronic pain. So this is pain like, let's just say a year or more. Not like the traditional chronic pain classification, but let's say you've had some sort of discomfort for more than a year and you haven't even attempted to fix it. You've just been living with it or ignoring it, or just it's part of your existence. What you've done is made the thought of this discomfort that you have a habit. So you're living in pain is now a habit, where you could simply look at like, is there an aspect within what I'm doing that could be triggering this? And if I can simply pull that out, how much better will I be? And then secondly, if I put something else new in that's even better, now I'm getting like a complete one-up.
Absolutely. I mean, that's perfect.
And that comes into finding out what doesn't hurt, right? That's looking for emotions that make things feel better. right?
Exactly.
And go ahead.
That's a good segue. We're going to shelf that for the future because it's going to be another section we're going to be going over. But as we talk about things, everything kind of overlies with each other. And before I get into our closing, do you want? I don't want to step on a flow by any means because I got a little closing that I want for them. But before I get into that, do you have anything else you wanted to kind of riff on before?
So for those of you that are interested in this material and the stuff that we're going over, these are conversations that him and I have had. These are conversations that multiple different people in the world are always talking about. We're super interested about hearing any input that you have. Remember, we're talking about general advice, not specific exact things or trying to diagnose anything. What we recently have been working on for the past year is taking a lot of the information we talk about and trying to create a concise manual or tool for people to have it all in front of them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which has led us to the low back pain book that we put together.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in that, there'll be all this stuff and more.
Yeah, we'll shoot links into these videos and make sure you guys are in tune with everything. With our back pain books, with everything we have on our website that would be helpful for you guys. But before you guys go, what I wanted to do is I kind of want to help guide you in a practice that would hopefully allow you to find some of your symptoms and some overlaps, right? And I think it's really simple. Just find 4 things that you realize or you notice where you have, we'll use low back pain as an example, but you can insert anything, right? And then between those 4 things, try to find some similarities between those 4 things, right?
Also, one area that we have got to always touch on and explain is there's a psychosocial component to everything that we do. I've seen people's back pain alleviate when they realized part of their habit of pain was related to something they weren't dealing with in their life. They dealt with that thing, which was not a mechanical change, came back in, back pain was completely relieved.
Absolutely.
So as you're thinking through this, expand beyond the mechanical and just kind of think of it overall.
Absolutely. So one of these 4 things could be, and definitely could be, non-mechanical. So it could be sleep, it could be stress, and then you can be flexing forward, and it could be another non-mechanical thing. Well, now guess what? You found some overlap, right? And this is why I think this drill for people to do is very, very helpful, right? Because like Dr. Ben just said, that would become profound to you now, right? Okay, maybe if I focus on this mechanical stuff, like how I move, but I never address any of the psychological stuff or the stress stuff or me being a stress ball, then it doesn't matter, right? So I highly encourage you to try this. Find 4 things, make it a point, a diary, however, put in your phone, however you need to do it, and then figure out a little bit of overlap between each of these things. And
so
you'll be surprised.
You guys can do this a couple ways. One way that I found to do things like this to be effective, obviously I would say go see a professional to help you. However, the most important thing is going to be creating the accountability, right? So once you have the game plan, that's awesome. Now it's going to come down to executing. So you may know somebody that's kind of in the same boat with you. Go through this experience together and be a support or lifeline for each other. Call them up. Hey, I just did this. Where are you at? And that is going to help, A, with a habit, and B, get you through this. Most important thing is not what you do, it's that you do. And finding the way to make it a habit through any kind of accountability measures is going to make that much more likely for you to succeed.
Yeah, that's perfect. So let's wrap it up. I mean, you want to say anything else?
No, I just keep talking. So everyone's, everyone's probably
it's
going.
It's good, man.
Find out what hurts.
This is fun.
Yeah.
This is really fun.
Remove it if possible. Look for solutions that make it better, and
hold yourself accountable.
stay tuned, and if you found this interesting, reach out to us via any of our platforms. Let us know things you'd like to hear about, and we'll address it.
So a couple different ways you guys can reach out to us. You can find us all on our social media. Our handles for both Facebook and Instagram is Kinetic Impact RP. And obviously you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you can always feel free to email us at www.kirehab.com. Like Dr. Ben has already said, we really want to hear from you guys, because this is fun for us. That this is what we do, and we want to help you while we're having fun, right? So we look forward to seeing you guys next time. So take care. Later, guys.